They taught you to fear being hated before they ever taught you to think. Before they handed you books, they handed you obedience. Before you were allowed to speak, you were told to be liked. This fear, quiet, crawling, constant, has governed more of your choices than you dare admit. You've shrunk your voice to preserve peace. You've buried your instincts under the weight of forced smiles and fragile alliances. You've mistaken survival for morality and silence for wisdom. But understand this, the fear of being hated is the leash placed around the necks of those too soft to rule themselves. If you keep chasing love, you will always serve. If you wish to lead, if you wish to carve your own name into this indifferent world, then being hated is not only a risk, it is a requirement. Look at history not with sentiment, but with precision. No man of consequence was ever universally adored. Caesar was loved, until he wasn't. Christ was praised, then nailed. Borgia was feared, and remained standing longer than most. You see, affection is conditional. It changes with the wind. But hatred is honest. Hatred is clarifying. It tells you who feels threatened by your rise, who depends on your submission, who profits from your silence. And if you fear it, it owns you. If you stare it down, it kneels. A ruler must never seek to be loved. He must seek to be obeyed. And obedience does not grow from affection. It grows from fear, from awe, from the impression that you are untouchable, even when you are not. You have spent your life decorating your cage with compliments, apologies, and shallow connections. You've made niceness your currency. You've traded power for politeness. You've begged to be understood by people who could not comprehend ambition if you wrote it in blood across their mirrors. And still you wonder why you feel empty. It is because you have mistaken being agreeable for being respected. But here is a truth that no teacher, no parent, no friend will ever tell you. Respect is born in silence, in distance, in discomfort. It is not gifted. It is not earned through service. It is taken. And those who take it are never universally loved. You believe that if you are hated, you have failed. I tell you, if you are never hated, you have never stood for anything dangerous enough to matter. The herd praises the harmless. The mob loves the meek. But when a man speaks with clarity, when a man acts with conviction, when he carves the world instead of waiting to be shaped by it, he will provoke hatred, not because he is evil, but because he is awake. And in a world of sleepwalkers, the awakened are always burned. But do not fear the fire. Use it. Let it brand you. Let it burn the softness from your skin. Let it remind you that the world remembers the feared, not the forgotten. You want peace, I understand. But peace is not granted to the gentle. It is negotiated by the powerful. And power does not emerge from being liked. It emerges from being necessary, from being unpredictable, from being immune to the tremble of public opinion. If you wish to be strong, you must stop apologizing for the space you take. Stop translating your ambition into polite stammers. Stop masking your intelligence so the mediocre feel safe. Let them hate you. Let them call you arrogant, cold, distant. These are just the names given to those who stopped begging to be loved. Every time you silence yourself to avoid friction, you surrender terrain. And once surrendered, that ground is rarely regained without blood. A wise prince does not avoid hatred, he manages it. He ensures it never turns to disgust. He is feared, but not reviled. He punishes once, but memorably. He smiles in public, but plans in solitude. He keeps his motives hidden, his intentions clear, and his enemies nervous. The hatred of others becomes a mirror. It reflects not who you are, but who they fear you might become. And when they fear you, they begin to respect you. Not the kind of respect that claps when you enter a room, but the kind that stays silent, uncertain, careful. So I ask you now, who are you beneath the layers of diplomacy you wear like armor? Who would you be if you no longer needed their approval? Who would you become if hatred did not frighten you but fueled you? What would you say? What would you build? What would you destroy? The path to power is not paved in applause. It is carved in solitude, shaped in silence, and walked alone. If you keep chasing love, you will die exhausted and unnoticed. But if you learn to be hated with grace, if you learn to wear their disdain like a crown, then you will begin finally to rule. And once you begin to rule, even silently, they will feel it. They won't say it aloud. They'll disguise it with sarcasm, with distance, with whispered concerns about your change in attitude. But underneath all their feigned worry is one simple truth. They can no longer control you, and that terrifies them. Because most people aren't searching for love or friendship or peace. They are searching for control. They want others to orbit around their comfort. And the moment you deviate, when your presence becomes unbothered, when your words carry weight instead of warmth, when your eyes no longer flinch, they will hate you. But in that hatred, they will also learn to move out of your way. You've been taught to fear rejection, as if the judgment of others is a death sentence. But you must understand that being hated by the wrong people is proof you are walking the right path. When fools despise you, it means you're no longer one of them. When cowards whisper your name with disdain, it means your courage has made them feel small. Let them talk. Let them swarm in their digital hives, spinning narratives, craving consensus. Your path is not built for popularity. It is built for impact. The prince does not wait for applause before he commands. He moves, and the world adjusts. Those who cling to universal approval are forever bound to the lowest denominator. You cannot ascend while begging those below to lift you. You cannot rise while carrying their comfort on your back. The fear of being hated is the anchor that keeps brilliant minds in shallow waters. But you were not made for the shallow. You were made to dominate the deep, to navigate the storms, not avoid them. You were made for the silence after confrontation, for the air that thickens when truth is spoken without apology. The crowd will never bless your transformation, but their curses are irrelevant. Power has no need for their blessings. And so the task is clear. You must unlearn their poison. You must sever the conditioning that taught you your worth was measured by smiles and nods, that every step forward required permission, that truth must always be tempered with kindness. No, sometimes truth must cut. Sometimes clarity must wound. Sometimes your very presence must threaten the structure of their illusions. When that happens, expect resistance. Expect sabotage. Expect hatred. Not because you are wrong, but because you refuse to stay small. Let them hate, but never let them confuse you. Their hatred is not your failure, it is their alarm. Their panic response to losing control of you. Understand it, smile at it, use it, but never absorb it. Your path does not require their understanding. It requires your conviction. Those who rule do not explain themselves to those who refuse to rule their own minds. You owe no one softness, not if it costs you clarity, not if it costs you power, not if it costs you the sharp edge that makes the world remember your name long after they've forgotten theirs. So do not waste your breath defending your rise. Do not soften your tone for ears that tremble at truth. Do not dilute your presence to comfort the insecure. The more you ascend, the more you will be attacked. Let it happen. Let them build shrines of resentment in your name. Let them misquote you, slander you, study you. It only proves you exist at a level they cannot touch. And those who cannot reach you will try to pull you down with noise. But noise is not danger. Noise is the final cry of the powerless before they fade into irrelevance. And as they fade, something strange will happen. Silence, not peace, not surrender, but the quiet before the next test. Because the moment you no longer fear being hated, they will try something else. They will test your need to belong. They will withdraw their praise, their presence, their invitations. They will exile you from the table you once begged to sit at. And in that exile, you will discover a secret. The table was never worth sitting at to begin with. It was built to keep you occupied, not empowered, to drain your fire with false fellowship, to make you mistake access for elevation. Walk away, let them eat without you. You were meant to build your own. Power does not bloom in gatherings. It blooms in the solitary mind, in the quiet man who thinks deeper than he speaks, in the woman who no longer performs to be chosen, in the soul that has stopped explaining and started executing. When you no longer fear being hated, you become dangerous, not because you wish others harm, but because their opinions have no leverage over your movement. They cannot bait you with guilt. They cannot slow you with shame. You do not need their forgiveness, their understanding, or their applause. You've transcended it, and once you do, you become unreadable. And in a world built on manipulation, the unreadable are unstoppable. This is what they truly fear. Not your strength, not your intelligence, but your indifference, that you no longer flinch, that you no longer over-explain, that you are no longer emotionally available to those who only knock when they want something torn from you. They fear the version of you that looks at hate and feels nothing, not coldness, but clarity. You see the game, you see the pawns. You no longer wish to be liked by pieces. You intend to command the board. A prince who does not fear hatred becomes something more than feared. He becomes mythic, unreachable. He moves through the world like a storm wrapped in silk, brutal when provoked, still when watched. The people admire him, but from a distance. His enemies curse him, but with caution. He is not understood, he is studied. That is the level of power hatred can buy you if you stop reacting, if you stop justifying, if you let the fire burn but do not let it consume your structure. You must understand, people need someone to blame, someone to crucify when their lives don't improve, someone to mock when they feel powerless. If you are visible, if you are rising, if you are clear in your movement, they will pick you. That is the cost of clarity. That is the tax of sovereignty. But it is a price worth paying. Let them blame you. Let them scream. You will be too far above to hear it clearly, because the throne is not a place of comfort. It is a place of exposure. And if you wish to sit on it, you must learn to smile while being hated and never blink. This is not cruelty. This is discipline. It is the discipline of self-possession. The discipline of not being moved by public opinion. The discipline of holding your ground even when the world calls you selfish, arrogant, delusional. They called every great mind the same. Every pioneer was mocked. Every commander was feared. Every ruler was cursed by the people he had to conquer to bring order. But history remembers the strong. It forgets the agreeable. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered or included? Do you want to be studied or merely seen? The answer will shape everything that comes next. And the moment you choose to stop fearing their hatred, the moment you sever that final leash, you will begin to walk differently, speak differently, live differently, and they will know, they will feel it. And though they may never admit it, they will respect you. And in that respect, earned not by charm, but by unshakable presence, you will find something rarer than love. You will find space. The space to move without permission, to speak without rehearsing, to build without consensus. Most people live in reaction, timid echoes of approval they never fully received. But you will move in initiation. You will act before being asked, decide before being invited, lead without needing followers. This is the empire of the feared, not because they impose chaos, but because they command order in a world addicted to confusion. They'll say you've changed, that you've become cold, detached, arrogant. They will say these things not because they are true, but because their power over you is dying. People do not mourn your indifference to their approval. They grieve the loss of their influence over your self-worth. And when you stop fearing their hatred, you also stop being useful to their emotional economy. They cannot extract energy from your guilt. They cannot weaponize your kindness. You have become sovereign, and sovereigns are always misunderstood by slaves. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. Power is not maintained by explanations. It is maintained by results. Every word you utter to defend your transformation is an offering to those who never deserved your truth to begin with. They will not believe you, not because your reasons lack logic, but because your existence threatens their illusions. You are no longer playing the role they assign to you. And that disruption, your refusal to remain cast in their small theater, will inspire the only kind of hatred that matters, impotent hatred. Loud, desperate, performative, but ultimately powerless. They will throw shame like stones. They will bait you with silence, with absence, with the withdrawal of affection. They will call you soulless, narcissistic, a tyrant. Good, let them, because none of these words matter when your soul is finally free of the need to be seen as good. There is no virtue in collapsing to be liked. There is no morality in martyrdom. There is only a slow, bitter death for those who made themselves small in the name of peace. Peace is not submission. Peace is power under control. And when your power is no longer chained to their perception, you become dangerous in the only way that matters, quietly, undeniably, permanently. You may feel grief as the old you dies. You may mourn the ease of being liked, the comfort of being harmless. But grieve briefly, then move, because your enemies will not wait for your healing. The world will not pause for your transition, and hatred, when faced head-on, becomes a sword you can wield, not a curse you must dodge. Let it sharpen you. Let it carve you into something so precise that no one dares to approach without respect. That is the gift of being hated. It trims the unnecessary. It isolates the real. It brings your world into high definition, and in that clarity, you will no longer chase validation. You will command presence. This presence cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It comes only to those who have been broken and rebuilt, who have stared into the mirror, into the venom of their own people, and chosen to remain, chosen to walk through it, chosen to speak anyway, act anyway, rise anyway. If you can do this, if you can survive their hatred without folding, you will emerge as something different. Not just stronger, not just colder, but untouchable. The kind of man or woman history watches, even if the present mocks. The kind that moves mountains in silence while the world argues about shadows. So, let them argue, let them plot. You have no more apologies to offer. You've already paid your dues in hesitation and self-doubt. Now walk forward, eyes up, shoulders squared, and let the hatred follow if it must. You no longer fear it, you wear it. And when you wear it, truly wear it, not with bitterness, but with calm inevitability, something else happens. They begin to listen, not all at once, not aloud, but in the stillness between their criticism, in the way they watch your movements with subtle delay, in the way your name lingers longer in their mouths. They will never admit it, but their hatred is morphing, slowly, into fascination, into reverence, into the quiet realization that you did what they could not. You stopped needing them, and that makes you ungovernable. You see, the most powerful man is not the one who inspires love. It is the one who no longer fears loss. Once you stop fearing hatred, you stop fearing exile. Once you stop fearing exile, you stop fearing solitude. And once you stop fearing solitude, you become invincible. You are no longer trapped in negotiations of worth. You are no longer imprisoned by the reactions of fragile egos. You do not tremble when the crowd turns. You do not shrink when lies are told. You've already died the death of public disapproval and survived. And now you walk like someone who cannot be shaken. They will try to provoke you, not because they believe their words will wound, but because they're desperate to pull you back into the game, to make you react, to re-enter the arena of emotional dependence. Do not step in, do not explain, defend or clarify. Stay unriddable, stay calm. Power is in composure, it is in restraint, it is in the silence that makes others doubt their own assumptions. The prince who does not answer to insult becomes a myth. The man who responds only when it matters becomes legend. You are not here to win arguments, you are here to win the entire board. And the board is ruled by perception. Appearances shape behavior, control the way you are perceived, and you control the tempo of every room. Let them fear offending you. Let them hesitate before speaking your name. Let them walk on eggshells while pretending they aren't. That is how power moves, not in volume but in gravity. You do not need to raise your voice when your absence is a threat. You do not need to fight when your silence is pressure. Become a presence that disturbs without effort. A weight in every room, simply by being. That is not arrogance. That is architecture. You are not like them. You do not bow for praise or trade your truth for applause. You do not broadcast your motives. You do not beg to be understood. You speak once, you act once, and the world must adjust. That is the new law. That is the consequence of killing your fear of being hated. You have severed your leash, and once severed, you will never wear it again. Not for love, not for legacy, not for comfort. Those things must come to you now, or they do not come at all. So move differently. Sit like a king in exile. Speak like a god in hiding. Let your life be the quiet refutation of every doubt they cast. Let your name become a riddle. Let your actions become scripture. And if they hate you, let them, because behind their hatred is respect, behind their gossip is awe, and behind their silence is the secret admission that you, not they, decided the rules of this game. And when you decide the rules, you no longer compete, you define. You define the terms of engagement, the tone of the room, the limits of what is tolerated and what is not. You become the axis around which weaker minds orbit, not because you sought dominion, but because they recognize, instinctively, that you have detached from their system of validation. You are not an actor in their drama. You are the architect of your own empire. And they either align, retreat, or dissolve. There is no fourth option, because once you no longer fear being hated, you become unshapable by the opinions of the crowd. And in that invulnerability, the world begins to bend. This is the final transformation, when hatred becomes not only bearable, but useful. It becomes a weapon of separation. It filters the disloyal from the loyal, the shallow from the deep, the distracted from the devoted. It clears the fog. Those who cannot stomach your truth will remove themselves. Let them. Those who remain will do so because they are drawn to power, not performance. These are the allies you want. The ones who don't need coddling, who don't tremble in the face of clarity, who do not mistake silence for weakness. These are the soldiers who follow not because you begged, but because you embodied something they respect. Because leadership is not declared, it is felt. It is carved from pain, solitude, and scars. And once forged, it cannot be faked. That's why the world follows the few and mocks the rest. That's why most men with influence still feel hollow. They're still enslaved to the applause, still haunted by the opinions of ghosts. But not you, not anymore. You've buried that need. You've turned your back on the theater. You've built your own walls, not to keep others out, but to keep yourself in. Focused, relentless, undistracted. And this is where true peace begins. Not the peace they sell you on screens. Not the passive kind, but the kind earned through dominance over your own emotion, over your own insecurity, over the inner slave that once bowed to be liked. That voice is gone now, replaced by command, replaced by stillness, replaced by the unshakable knowledge that being hated was never the enemy. It was the crucible, the test, the proof that you've crossed over, that you no longer belong to the world, they now belong to you. So now, speak your truth, not with rage, but with finality. Move with precision, cut ties without flinching, make decisions without apology. Let them watch, judge, whisper, plot. You will be too busy building what they fear most. A life lived without need, a name that echoes in silence, a presence that lingers after you've left the room. That is the legacy of the feared. Not destruction, not dominance, but permanence. You do not need to be loved to be unforgettable. You only need to be immovable. And so, when they ask how you did it, how you became untouchable, unbothered, unstoppable, tell them nothing, just walk away. Let them sit in the space your presence once filled. Let them realize, too late, that their hatred never touched you, it only crowned you. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is already breaking free. You've begun to see that fear of being hated was never protection, it was a cage, and you're done shrinking to fit inside a world that punishes clarity and rewards weakness. From this moment forward, you don't owe them anything, not your softness, not your silence, not your soul. So I want you to answer this, honestly. Are you ready to stop explaining yourself? Are you ready to walk alone if it means walking in truth? Are you ready to let their hatred crown you instead of crush you? If this message cut through the noise, if it stripped something false from you, write in the comments, I wear their hate like armor. Let's see how many of us have reached that point of no return. And don't stop here. The next video will take you even deeper. Deeper into sovereignty. Deeper into truth. Keep going. I'll meet you there.